Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 4th community meeting for OpenSearch. I'm Christopher Dane, community manager for the project, and we have a couple of really good guests today. We have a few things to go over just before we get into the meeting. Follow a code of conduct here. I'm sure everyone involved is aware of this. I'd like to introduce yourself before speaking. Please mute unless you're actively speaking. You don't have to go on camera. We always like to see you, but you don't have to. And then you can ask questions anytime in audio or in chat, but we'll leave that up to the preferences of the presenter. And then, of course, don't be disruptive. Otherwise, you're going to get removed. A couple of moderation things that we have turned off. Screen annotations. We only show names. Only co-hosts can show their screen, and additional co-hosts are here to help party this along. Questions again anytime, and passcodes are required, and don't rename yourself. Let's get into our announcements, though. We have some exciting things right now. I think everyone on the call is probably aware we're coming to Amsterdam this year for the user group, or I'm sorry, for OpenSearch Con. There's 3 links here. CFP is already closed, but you can register. We have the schedule available, a lot of really exciting presentations and talks coming your way. And then, of course, there's sponsorship opportunities. We're also coming to India for another OpenSearch Con, this time in Bengaluru. The CFP just closed, and we're currently going through the results of that with an anonymous panel. Registration is open, and we do expect to announce the schedule the week of March 10th. And again, additional sponsorship opportunities are available. And then lastly, North America later this year. We're all going to join up in San Jose in early September. This one's going to be a lot of fun as well. CFP is still open, so get your talks submitted. We'd love to see what you want to present at OpenSearchCon. Registration's open already. The week of May 26th is when we're going to announce the schedule and additional sponsorship opportunities there as well. Few short-term exciting things coming up. We'll be at FOSS Backstage in Berlin next week. Hope to see you all there. And then our friend Dotan is going to be presenting at the Kubernetes Cloud Native Berlin meetup on the 11th. The link is here. Please sign up for that if you're going to be in town. I'm sure his talk is going to be absolutely fantastic. Next, we're going to launch our latest user group in Berlin, March 13th, with our friends here on the call, Eliatra. Excited for this one. I'll be there. I can't wait to see each of you. From there, we're going to KubeCon early April, and we'll be there for Observability Day as well. And during that, we're going to have another London user group. And then a couple small announcements, but good announcements. We had more Q19 come out on February 11th. The blog post link is here, as well as the release notes. And then we followed that up for some really quick maintenance fixes. Here's the release notes for those. And then if you want to see the future releases of OpenSearch, here's a link to our releases page. Let's get into what we're actually here to talk about today, though. We have our friends Hendrik and Anja from Eliatra. They're going to talk about the managed Eliatra OpenSource Distro. I'll get that right. And then following up on that is Eric Pugh from OpenSource Connections to do a follow-up to his last presentation on user behavior insights. With that, I'll stop talking and I'm going to turn the screen over to Hendrik and Anja.
So welcome to the OpenSearch community meeting today. Thank you, Chris, for having us and the ability to talk about MEOD. What it is, we'll discover during the talk. I will prefer to answer questions after the presentations, if there are questions. And let me just start with the first slide, just a very brief introduction. My name is Hendrik Saly. I'm one of the founders of Eliatra, and I'm responsible for business development and our SaaS offering. Eliatra was founded 5 years ago as a dedicated support and professional service company for Elasticsearch and OpenSearch. In 2023, we expanded our portfolio and transitioned from a service-focused company to a product company and made our product available now as a SaaS solution. Since then, we have also become a Yonos partner. Yonos is a German hosting company. More on that later. The problem we try to solve with MEOD. We provide a managed service, a managed OpenSearch service, of course, called MEOD. Currently, there is no such thing, no such offering hosted in Germany. We will provide full access to all OpenSearch functionalities and APIs via our expert mode. This, for example, also includes third-party plugins, and I'm not aware of any managed service which allows to provision third-party plugins. We also provide 24/7 support, and everything is hosted on Yonos. That's, as I explained, a well-known German hosting company with German-based data centers. Why this is important, we will also discover later. Eliatra OpenSearch Distro, or EOD, is Eliatra's own distribution of OpenSearch. It's essentially a kind of synchronized copy of OpenSearch, enhanced by Eliatra with additional capabilities, including rapid response fixes for critical security issues. You can think of EOD as a 100% compatible version of OpenSearch that includes specialized add-ons designed for mission-critical production systems. EOD is available for download and installation. After developing EOD, we came up with the idea to offer it as a SaaS product. We explored various hosting options and ultimately formed a partnership with Yonos because we wanted to host it in Germany. We specifically avoided the big three cloud providers since in the US, since numerous companies already host OpenSearch on their platform, so there was no need to just add another one. Drawing from our years of experience providing OpenSearch support, we deliver high-quality 24/7 support services with a guaranteed 1-hour response time. And as I explained earlier, we allow when a user enables the so-called export mode, full customization of all OpenSearch configuration options. That means not only deploying third-party plugins, but also a fully customizable OpenSearch YAML and access to the admin certificates. That means you can basically do everything which you can do with OpenSearch when you run it on premise or locally. MEOD supports any cluster topology you can think of and applies topology changes fast and uninterrupted. We provide also out-of-the-box automatic version upgrades and backups or snapshots. And with cluster topology, I mean, for example, assume you want to have a cluster consisting of 3 cluster manager nodes, 3 data nodes, 3 search nodes, and for example, 2 machine learning nodes, something like that. And our SaaS offering is in that kind fully customizable, so you can deploy any cluster topology you want to run. You have full controls about the node resources and the node roles. And in addition, we of course support multi-availability zone deployments. At the moment, MEOD is in an early access stage. That means for everyone who is interested in trying it out, is welcome to register on the waiting list. And we also give you some free some credits to run it without paying for it for the first 7 days. And if you're interested how everything looks like, we have a roughly about 10-minute video. The link is here on the slide, where you can see how everything looks like and works. The general availability is planned for mid of the second quarter in this year. To give you a basic idea, what I'm talking about is, for example, to have a look here on the MEOD cockpit. That is the thing you see when you log in, and the place where you can create new clusters, edit or change some clusters, or of course delete them. It's basically the control plane for the managed service. Of course, everything is also controllable solely via API. But that is something which is a little bit boring to show. Here's also the video as a link. So if I'm not sure, Chris, if you plan to share the slides, then you can just have a click here on this slide.
Once you're done with this, send me over the deck and we'll get it posted out there on the forum for everyone, and then we can embed some links out there as well.
Perfect. For the technical people listening here, so a few technical details. The MEOD deployment is based on the OpenSearch Kubernetes operator. We enhanced a few things and fixed also a couple of bugs during the MEOD development phase. And hey, because we're a good open source citizen, everything which is not specific to MEOD or Ionos, we will contribute back during the year to the upstream project, of course. So we are currently preparing, I guess, 3 PRs, which we expect to file soon. And as you can imagine, when we use the Kubernetes operator, MEOD is based on Kubernetes. So from the hoster, from Ionos, we get a managed Kubernetes environment. And then we have our system, our control plane, our cockpit running, which manages everything. So that means, for example, the API is implemented with Go, and everything you do with the API, for example, creating a new cluster, will first go into a Postgres database and then gets picked up from a recurring running background job which then, for example, facilitate Terraform or Tofu to provision the resources. And then later, when the resources are ready, we leverage Helm for installing everything into this Kubernetes cluster to get OpenSearch up and running. Of course, the OpenSearch operator, but also the usual Kubernetes suspects like Nginx, Cert Manager, and for monitoring something like Prometheus and Loki. And the topology looks like that we create one dedicated Kubernetes cluster per OpenSearch cluster that ensures maximum data privacy and isolation against other deployments. So, and that's already everything I wanted to tell you. If you have questions which I cannot answer in this round, then just get in touch. Or if you need other information. And as Chris explained in the beginning, there are several meetings happening, so you can meet us on the OpenSearchCon in Amsterdam, or on one of the 4 upcoming user group meetups. So the founding meetup in Berlin, and then London, Dublin, and Munich in the first half of this year. The slide deck contains some additional information, which I will not go through now. You can just have a look on this when you get the PDF from Chris, hopefully. Now I'm happy to take some questions if there are such.
Why was there sort of that gap? Like you were saying, like in Germany.
Yeah, so we discovered that that when you want to leverage managed OpenSearch hosting, you have to go to either some European hosters who offer this, like OVH, for example, or of course to US-based providers like of course Amazon. But also other US providers. So after a little bit of research, we found no real production-ready managed OpenSearch hosting in Germany. And why Germany is important is because we get regularly questions from our customers that they like to have something in Germany because of data privacy regulations. So they like the the privacy rules in Germany or in Switzerland, but now we have it in Germany. And so the idea came up to fill this gap, at least we discovered, and offer something as a true German service. That means the hoster is a true German company, and the data centers are, of course, also located in Germany. And as I said, the additional gap is that we allow full access to OpenSearch. So most of the providers we discovered either don't allow, of course, something like editing the OpenSearch YAML, or we found no hoster allowing deploying third-party plugins. And some of the providers, like a French one, I don't remember the name, and also Ivan, I think, is not allowing all the APIs. So they strip down the APIs you can effectively use for for the deployed OpenSearch cluster. I hope this answers the question. Any other questions so far?
This is a really exciting launch. Thank you for sharing this.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Chris. Then I'll stop presenting and.
All right, let's turn it over to Eric.
All right. Keep me on time. Okay. So, all right. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring up a slideshow. Nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces. Dave, I haven't seen you since OpenSearch Con in San Francisco, so it's nice. Thanks for coming. So this is as Chris kind of mentioned during the introduction, this is a follow-up from last month's community share when we talked about the search evaluation framework. And just to remind people, let's see if I can actually navigate no, that's not what I want to bring up. Just to remind people, what we're working on here with user behavior insights is a framework for understanding what user clicks are doing. So some of you may have seen this little demo website that we have here where I've done a search for wireless earbuds. And as you can see on the right, I'm tracking what products are being seen. I'm tracking what people are clicking on, and I'm gathering this data. So I'm not in today's presentation going to talk about the front end side. There's some slides and some other things that we could talk about. But instead, I want to talk a little bit about why user behavior insights matters and what we're now doing to do data collection and ingestion, and some of the dashboarding and analytics that are coming in OpenSearch. Okay, so just to remind people, right, the vision for UBI is that looking at only server-side data gives us a partial view of our users' activity. It helps us understand a little bit. We, can see queries. We can track what documents are being returned. We can calculate zero search results, right? These are things that we can do on the server side. But, search teams that really want to understand business goals and want to solve business goals, if you care about business goals, then you really need to understand your users' goals, right? And user goals are not monolithic. Every user is a little different. We can group them in cohorts and segments, but they're all a little bit different. And if we care about our users' goals, then that means that we need to look at the client side. We need to fill in the blank spots of the total picture with a little bit of information. And as you can see, hopefully some of you recognize who this is. With the user behavior insights, it lets you overcome those blind spots that we have by combining classic server-side data that we're all out there and used to working with filling in what are our users doing? What are they clicking on? What are they not clicking on, right? And I think that this one person, Dipanshu, right, who I talked to about user behavior insights a couple of weeks ago, really just said it well, right? This is his quote, but I think it is the TLDR of UBI. How are our users using our product? Whether the search results are useful for them, and whether they clicked on top end results we gave, and all related stuff, right? I really think Dipanshu really kind of captured the point of user behavior insights is it fills in the picture and we can understand what our users are doing, okay? If you have questions, feel free to bring them up as we go, all right? You may have seen the slide in other presentations, right? A slightly more concrete example is that we're connecting searches to results to conversions. Now, People have been doing this for a long time with your Google Analytics, your Adobe Analytics, your Heaps, etc. But they typically are collecting events just as a series of time-stamped events all in a row, right? What we're really trying to do is give a name to every search and have a direct connection between a search, a set of results, and a conversion, not a linear time based, because those can get out of order and be difficult to understand, but instead an explicit search ID. So in this example, we're doing a search. We give it 539 as the search, good to be the King Louis, and we're showing our users a set of results. Now, importantly, what UBI is doing is tracking what are the results, the documents that people are actually seeing, right? Because it's important for us to understand what documents we're seeing and also what documents we're not seeing, right? Because we need to understand what is a conversion. A conversion is only of the documents that were actually brought up on the screen, right? So here you can see that we are tracking a search to a specific document and a conversion. UBI is giving us data both about positive things, the conversions, but it also lets us understand which documents or which results do not convert, sort of negative data, negative space, right? And the negative information, here are documents that we're surfacing, but no one ever clicks on them, in some ways can be almost more useful to our data scientists building cool re-ranking models and all the rest as the more positive and typically more commonly tracked data of what was actually clicked on. Okay. So I liked this line that someone recently used. They were like, so UBI data is like the fuel for lots of use cases. And I'm like, yes, right? When we start collecting what our users are doing on the site and specifically the search behaviors, right? They did a search, they clicked on a facet, they looked at a filter, they didn't auto suggest, it led to this click through or these other behaviors, then they're really useful for enhancing a number of different use cases. On the left, you can see quite a few search use cases. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of the things that we're doing around relevancy improvements. So you'll see Hybrid Optimizer next month at the community meetup. We're going to be talking about how we're using UBI data to power a hybrid search optimizer to balance between traditional keyword search and neural or vector-based search, right? So relevancy improvements. But there are a lot of other use cases that can be done. What is good? What is content that looks really attractive, is well written? What is content that, for whatever reason, people see it, but they never click on it? Why? Maybe the titles aren't done. Maybe we don't have good images, whatever. There's a lot of analytical use cases, how to monitor search over time, how to build offline testing environments, how to look for anomalies. These can all be powered off this UBI data. And then, of course, we're all very excited about AI. We're all working with generative AI. And there's a number of different areas in here where we can use this UBI data to help influence or understand how to build better Gen AI applications. For example, chunk selection, right? If you have a chunking tool or you have different chunking models, which ones are going to work well? Well, with some of this UBI data, we can kind of measure various chunking options and see which ones are most attractive. So there's a bunch of different use cases for this UBI data once you start having it, once you have it. But, and this is a lot of what we've been working on since I last got to present, was how to get user behavior insight data tracked, get it into our OpenSearch environment. What we've very much realized, we started out with OpenSearch, a plugin called User Behavior Insights. It's been in OpenSearch since 2.16 or 17, can't quite remember, right? But it is a plugin and it does not ship with the managed AWS OpenSearch. at least not yet. Maybe with what Eliatra presented, you guys could demonstrate using the plugin. But the OpenSearch plugin is nice because every query that comes in gets automatically tracked and stored inside OpenSearch as a query. But what we've seen is that in most environments, we're probably going to have to track our queries and our events using some JavaScript. So we have our ubi.js little JavaScript library that you can drop into your website. But also, and this is what I'm going to show a quick demo of in a moment, is for folks using AWS Managed Service OpenSearch, lots of people like to use OSI, the OpenSearch Ingestion Service. And what it allows us to do, right, built on top of Data Prepper, is abstract away from our OpenSearch cluster, gathering all these UBI events, and we can send that data to S3, we can send it to OpenSearch, and then we can do our dashboarding on top of it. So, so this is the quick architecture diagram for what UBI on top of OSI looks like. We have our JavaScript client that you can use, and it's going to send events to an OSI pipeline. Now, right now, what we're working through is sort of understanding, can we write directly to an OSI HTTP endpoint to write the data? Although I suspect that most users will have their own endpoint on their application that gathers those events and then forwards them to OSI. And what I'll be showing you in a moment is that we're gathering those events and we're writing them out to S3 for long-term storage, right? UBI data is a fuel for many use cases, but you're going to be gathering a lot of information. And so for long-term storage, S3, great place to put it, right? Nobody ever got fired for deciding to store more data into S3. It's cheap, long-term storage, and you can gather a lot of data here that can be useful in your machine learning data science efforts. But we also want the data that we're gathering by user behavior insights to be accessible and available to our users immediately, so that we can power some dashboards, so we can identify interesting trends quickly. And so OSI also lets us write that data directly to our OpenSearch clusters, which have a set of dashboards on them. So let's go ahead. So this is a quick video by my colleague, Jeff Semrich.
Hey, y'all. I just wanted to make a quick video to show using UBI with the OpenSearch ingestion pipeline. So what I'm going to show is that I have an OpenSearch ingestion pipeline that's taking queries and events that are being sent through curl. And they are being sent to two sinks, an S3 bucket, and OpenSearch domain. We have our OSI UBI domain running in OpenSearch. We have our UBI pipeline running, and here's the definition. So we have queries and events coming through. So I use a route to be able to send queries to the right sink and events to the appropriate sink as well. So with some scripts here, send event script looks like this. So we are just sending JSON event to the OpenSearch ingestion pipeline endpoint with the type event for routing. So if we run this script, our event is sent. I have a similar script, send query, basically the same thing, except it mimics a UBI query instead of an event type query for the routing going to the same pipeline endpoint. Send off, so those are both good. So those are going to OpenSearch index, and they're also going into S3. We can look at the OpenSearch index, get indexed events, simply does a search against the index, and we can see that there is the event that we sent. And likewise, if we do get index queries, we can see that the query is indexed as well. Due to the buffering, it takes a little bit of a delay to get into S3, but we can go click refresh until it shows up. And this is, for what it's worth, while we wait, this is all defined in a Terraform file with the pipeline in the OpenSearch domain in there. There's the pipeline YAML config from the AWS console that we saw. And there's our events that showed up. So there's the event that I sent in. So now that it's here, we should see the query show up shortly. And there's the query.
So that was just a really quick video there of the OSI integration that we've added. Couple things I want to point out is it's the same front end, so the same logic, the UBI JavaScript library, whether it's writing to OpenSearch or an OSI endpoint, a data prepper endpoint. There's no change to be made, but then you get to pick up all the things. We've got a set of blueprints that are available if you're using OSI. If you're not using OSI and you're using Data Prepper, then you basically follow the same path. It's just, you're configuring Data Prepper yourself. So let's see. How do I get to next slide? So keeping an eye on the clock. I think I got plenty of time, but I want to keep an eye on the clock. So so that OSI integration is the big thing. And we're expecting it to be on the OpenSearch ingestion webpage in probably about 4 to 6 weeks. But the blueprints are available now in the UBI repo. If you have a question about how to grab them, just hit me up and I'll happily send you the link. We actually have our first, some updates on the UBI effort. We have our first company that's actually storing data using the UBI format. Higher Logic is a company that builds community website software. And historically, they have treated user interaction data, user analytics, primarily for making sure the system is running, right? They use it for troubleshooting. They use it for identifying if there are issues or outages. But what they're seeing now is, hey, wait a second, all of this information can help us build better platforms, right? They're using this activity and information to inform some of the new data science, Gen AI work that they're doing as they try to build more advanced features for their users. And so in December, they started tracking, instead of storing short-term user interaction data, they're now storing it long-term. They're using the Iceberg capability. They are trialing indexing it into OpenSearch, but their long-term storage format is the UBI standard. So that was exciting to have a company try it. We are working with 3 companies who are currently in the POC phase. So they are trialing out UBI to see if it works. So that's where they're at. A little bit of an eye chart. So I've got some better ones, but one of the things that you now get with user behavior insights is a set of dashboards that you can load right into OpenSearch to help you understand what is going on in your environment. And so some of these, we've been refining them. And so I'm just going to show a zoom in a little bit, just to show a couple. So this one is one of my favorite charts. What this is telling me is opportunities for improving search. By understanding, using UBI, what people are clicking on, it lets us know which queries are doing badly. Now, this is taken from our sort of little Chorus e-commerce store, where we simulated some clicks. And as you can see, Bluetooth, which seems like we have lots of Bluetooth-related products in our Chorus e-commerce site, and yet the average click position is 15 down. TV remote. We sell lots of TV remotes. It's 11.65, pretty far down, right? What this dashboard is showing is to a product manager, a product merchandiser, sometimes we use the portmanteau, a searchandiser, a merchandiser who understands search. These are all queries that are candidates for improvement, right? And where they should be focused and spending their time. So opportunities is a great example of client side data. You can't get this just by looking at server side data. And it's difficult to piece together using a Google Analytics or some other tools. This is very specific to the needs of a search team. On the flip side, what are the queries that are doing really well, right? And so here is that same list sorted the other way, right? Here are some search queries that are doing really well. The first result for gray rucksack is desirable. People are clicking. Again, this is simulated data, but the point being that the takeaway on both of these charts is that we're able to surface a lot of data that you otherwise would not have. This is sort of the classic click position, right? We know that most people click on the first document. What this chart is telling us, though, is that there are 20 products on the page before you go to page 2. And for some reason, people like to, you see a natural fall off from position 1, 2, 3, 4, but people seem to like to jump to the bottom of the side of the page and then click on products that are in that bottom row, 17, 18, 19, 20, right? So a click position histogram can be very useful to kind of measure where are you, right? And then you would anticipate as you improve search that you would move more things to the left. Now, we're not segmenting this by types of query, types of product, different categories, right? Those are all things that you might do. Keep an eye on the clock. I want to leave room for that. So UBI, right? Again, one of the reasons we're excited about it is it's future-proofing your data strategy by using the standard collecting data. Lots of other tools downstream are starting to depend on, hey, we want UBI data to power our use cases, right? That fuel idea. We are just released the 1.3 version of the spec about a week ago. And through releasing 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, we've worked in the open with various stakeholders to say, what does a session mean? What does all of the elements of tracking user behavior? And by having a spec that's robust and evolving, we're getting more consistency on what we mean. So some really good standards work has been happening. And then lastly, we've been talking to people, and one of the things that we found is that UBI, it's definitely cheaper than your Heap or Adobe Analytics or other analytics solution, right? Deploying it, yes, it's a roll your own solution and dashboarding and stuff, but if you're not getting a ton of value out of some of these other solutions, it's a very easy way to start getting some analytics directly using the investment you've already made in OpenSearch. Out of the work that we've been doing with a couple of early adopter companies, and I'm looking forward to refining this estimate more, but if you're interested in trialing UBI for your site, 2 weeks seems to be a good estimate for figuring out, all right, how am I going to wire UBI into my front end? Is it, what job am I using the JavaScript library UBI provides? Am I working with my analytics folks to just wire up their own thing that they're doing? Figuring out some of these data flows, whether it's OSI that I'm using, writing directly to OpenSearch, logging to a file, and then reading that in, right? figuring out the dashboards, right? We're shipping some great dashboards for OpenSearch, but everybody's got their own questions that they want to ask of the data, their own things. And this is an area that we're working on a lot, is what are sort of governance and PII issues that need to be resolved, right? Talk to quite a few firms who are interested in UBI because it's first party, right? You own the, you're collecting the data directly. It's not a third party system. But what exactly, how do we model, how do we ensure the user privacy that we need from our governance policy? So far, the specification seems to have adapted quite well. So I'm really happy about that. And then, we had at least 2 conversations where folks were like, UBI is a really great bridge for helping us move from, we use OpenSearch primarily for observability and not for search, and getting the folks who in an organization using OpenSearch, but like observability and security, and getting them to think more about search oriented or business goals and business value. So that's been an interesting conversation to have. So that's the quick update. These slides will get shared around in the video. There's a bunch of different links to different resources. And then Daniel, who's on this call, Daniel and I have been talking to people about UBI and, hey, would it work for me? So there's a Calendly link there if you're interested. And we have a great little 45-minute briefing, sort of a little bit of a variation of what you saw today, but the goal is to dig into, would it work for you? And how would it work in your environment where maybe you already have other analytics teams or you have other analytics packages. So if you're interested in learning more, would love to talk about it. And that's, I think, us. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you so much, Eric. This has been great. Any other questions for Eric or our friends? All right, any open questions? We got an open question session. Let's see if anyone has any last minute questions before we.
OpenSearch 3.0 on track?
It is. So far, it's going really well.
Excellent.
Go out to opensearch.org/releases, and we have links out to basically a schedule of when the next RC is coming, who's running that, links out to the GitHub areas that would be of interest to those.
Excellent.
/releases doesn't seem to work for me. OpenSearch.org/releases.
.html probably, I think.
Yep, that works.
Cool. It's picky from time to time. Thanks, Dave. And then before we end, I wanted to do a special introduction. Dotan, if you want to come on the screen.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
There he is. Our friend
Yeah.
Dotan has joined the group. I think a lot of you probably know him. He's our new senior developer advocate. He's also a Cloud Native Foundation ambassador, and I'll hand the floor to him to do his introduction.
Thanks, Chris. Glad to join the team. It's very fresh. So I joined AWS as the senior developer advocate as part of the OpenSearch team. Sorry about that. But dedicated to the OpenSearch open source project. And I come, by the way, from logs.io, for those who know, also from the OpenSearch ecosystem. So I'm no stranger to the OpenSearch projects from the original fork, from its initiation. And as Chris mentioned, I'm also CNCF ambassador, Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and I've been around the open source observability area for many years, not just OpenSearch, also OpenTelemetry, Prometheus, Jaeger, and others. So I have a podcast on open observability talk. So that's definitely my passion project, and I'm looking forward to helping promote the project and to get to know all of you and work with you. So if there's anything that you find relevant on the advocacy side of OpenSearch, feel free to reach out to me. Obviously, I'm on the OpenSearch Slack and other channels on the CNCF Slack and many others. So feel free to reach out. Happy to meet everyone. And I'll be next week at FOSS Backstage in Berlin, as Chris mentioned at the beginning. So if you happen to be in Berlin, whether in the conference or otherwise, happy to also catch up in person in Berlin.
Perfect. Thank you, my friend.
Oh,
Good to
and we
have you
just
here.
started a new user group also in Tel Aviv just this week. So yeah, the
There we
activity
go.
on the community side is also growing nicely. I'm based in Tel Aviv, by the way.
It's going to help us grow and continue to grow. So excited to have Dotan on the team. Thank you everyone for showing up today. We appreciate you. We'll have the video posted probably by end of week, early next week. We'll post out some decks, and we'll see you at the next tons of events that we're going to be throwing. Take care, everyone.